RaceWatch 12 with Cade Heidemann is brought to you by Builder's Service.
The dual races at Daytona are set to take place later tonight, and 9 open entry cars are scheduled to start, which is up from 6 last year. And this year the competition is going to be tough. I'll go over what it takes for these drivers to make the Daytona 500, but first here's who will be competing for a spot. Going in numerical order, driving the 01 car for Rick Ware Racing is Corey LaJoie. He announced he'll be running part-time this year in the 01, all as an open entry, so while he will rarely ever have to fight for a starting spot, the Daytona 500 is one of those times. LaJoie's Daytona 500 record hasn't exactly set the world on fire, but his most recent 500 start was his career best, scoring a 4th place finish in the Spire 7 car. Whether or not LaJoie has a shot of making the 500 has yet to be seen. In the Land Before Charters, Rick Ware had more DNQs than starts for the Great American Race. From a team with a storied history in the Cup Series to one who's completely new to Cup Series competition, it's Junior Motorsports fielding their first ever Cup entry for Justin Allgaier. Little Gator has 2 Daytona 500s on his record, both outside of the top 25. However, in the Xfinity Series, Allgaier has visited victory lane at Daytona and somewhat recently too, in the 2023 Fall Race. While their Cup program is entirely unproven, they are confirmed to have received support from Hendrick, the winners of last year's 500. The 40 car may be fresh, but may also be one of the night's heaviest hitters. Next up is a team looking for a return to form. NY Racing is back for 2025 with JJ Yeley for the 2nd straight year. They haven't made a 500 start since Greg Biffle got them in for 2022's race, and while the 2024 500 was a bust for them, that didn't bring down the spirits for the rest of their team's part-time schedule, taking their 2nd top 20 at last year's Fall Daytona race with Joey Gase piloting the car. It's not that they can't make it, it's just a matter of if fate looks upon them finally in 25. Now here's someone you probably never expected to see on an open entry list. The recently retired from full-time competition, Martin Truex Jr. is looking to put himself in with another team making their very first Cup Series start. Last year, it was speculated 2311 would field a 3rd entry for Truex, but Penn never made it to paper, and with the ongoing lawsuit, it was in both parties' best interest that Truex look elsewhere for his ride. Stepping up to the plate to keep MTJ within the Toyota camp was Tricon Garage, the Truck Series team. On January 16th, the announcement felt like a fever dream. The team that hasn't even so much as made an Xfinity start is now fielding a Cup car for a Cup Series champion. It seems like the team has all the backing in the world to make it happen though. Bass Pro Shops will be on the car for the one-off start, the same sponsor Truex has carried for many years, and on the pit box is none other than Cole Pern, the crew chief that led MTJ to his only Cup Series championship in 2017, all capped off with the number 56 on the door, Truex's previous number while with Michael Waltrip Racing. MTJ has yet to win a single Cup Series race at Daytona International, but without the pressure of full-time competition weighing on his shoulders, there's no telling how far Truex could go when the only task in front of him this year is making the race. Next, Beard Motorsports is looking to put the number 62 back in contention for Daytona this year. They've been running as an open entry dating all the way back to 2017, and they know a thing or two about making the show, having put the 62 Chevrolet in 6 of the 8 times they've attempted. This team absolutely knows how to get a car ready for super speedway competition, as it's really the only thing they choose to make starts for. But why not go for what works? Between all their starts at Daytona and Talladega, the team has netted 7 top 10s, with their 7th being their most recent start at the Fall Daytona race, where Parker Retzlaff had that car running up front towards the end. This year, Anthony Alfredo will be behind the wheel, trying to make the 500 for the 2nd year in a row. Garage 66, formerly the Money Team, is also back again. While they haven't started in the Duels since 2022 and haven't raced in the 500 since 2020, the allure of the Great American Race was too strong to keep them away forever. This year, they tapped Chandler Smith to drive the 66 Ford. Chandler last attempted to make the 500 in 2023, running Colleagues 13 in a failed effort, but he did attempt that year's fall race, securing a 15th place finish, proving that if allowed to run, he can put in a solid effort. It's just a matter of getting there first. Live Fast sold their charter after the 2023 season and subsequently failed to make the following year's 500, but such failure isn't going to keep a man like BJ McLeod down. Like Beard Motorsports, Live Fast has a very solid superspeedway program, with McLeod himself taking the 78 to 2 top 10s at Daytona, but never in the 500. This year in 25, McLeod looks to once again prove that he doesn't need a charter to compete in the biggest race of the season. Mr. 7-time Jimmy Johnson is also back again this year to get himself into the 500 for the 3rd straight year in his own car. All of his starts in the 84 have resulted in less than stellar finishes, but if there's one thing you can't take away from him is that despite his performance in the race, Johnson has at least made the race. This year he intends to run a much lighter schedule, with only the 500 and Coke 600 on his radar, so it would probably mean that much more to him if he at least got to make the main race of his one of 2 weekends in 2025. And now the 9th and final confirmed open entry car for this year's Daytona 500, running for Trackhouse in the returning Project 91 entry, Helio Castroneves. For IndyCar fans, Helio is a household name. Even though he never won a championship in IndyCar, you can absolutely not take away from him his 25 wins, 4 of those being the Indianapolis 500. All that on top of his 3 24 Hours of Daytona wins and 6 wins in Champ Car. However, we have seen drivers from different disciplines of racing all say that NASCAR is an entirely different experience. Thankfully for Helio, if his dual race doesn't go to plan, you will still see him race in this year's Daytona 500, all because of a new rule created in the off-season. It's a guaranteed 41st entry provisional given to elite drivers not currently competing full-time in NASCAR. While Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex Jr. would have been qualified for this spot, Trackhouse put in for it first, meaning Helio will start in the 500. Of these 9 drivers, only 4 will get to start in this year's Daytona 500, unless Helio doesn't qualify from the duels, in which case 5 will start. 5 open cars will go to one duel and 4 to the other. They don't need to win their duel race, but in order to make the 500, they must place first above the other open cars. Only 1 open car advances from the duels. The other 2 spots are earned in qualifying that took place yesterday. So who were those 2 cars? Well, it should come as no surprise that the 2 drivers who made the show on speed alone were the 2 champions of our sport. Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex Jr. have both made the Daytona 500 off qualifying times alone. They will still participate in the duels and could even play spoiler, as if either of these 2 places above the other open cars, the 3rd and 4th starting spots wouldn't go to the runner-ups in the duels, but instead the runner-up drivers from qualifying, meaning should either the 56 or 84 be the best open car, Justin Allgaier would get the 4th starting spot. But should the 56 and 84 place the best in their duels, Justin Allgaier and Corey LaJoie would secure the last starting spots in the 500. That's all for this week's edition. For RaceWatch 12, I'm Cade Heidemann.